audio and visual check. How's everyone doing? This is almost a Saturday night live edition of the live stream. Just check that we are live. Hope everyone's doing great. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Leave a comment. I've got a very interesting edition of the live stream today. Cool, we've got people in here already. Like it. Thumbs up, like, let me know if it's coming in strong. Freedom team. Audio. Looking good, sounding good. The Freedom team. Green Tea Freedom and Truth channel. Okay, we've got a lot to get into this evening, the Saturday evening, Saturday/Saturday afternoon. Also, I'll start today's video with the Ngāti Tuwharetoa Paramount Chief passed away this week. Rest in peace. Condolences to the whānau, everyone who's grieving at this time. I met the Paramount Chief a couple of times. I've been to his house. A good man, honest and wise man. I know some of his whānau from playing sports, living in Taupo for 30 plus years. So condolences and thoughts at this time. I know a lot of people have come for these ways for the tangi, and thoughts to everyone who knew him, in the Taupo and around the country. So I'll just start my video live stream with that. This week, Donald J. Trump spoke at the United Nations General Assembly. He spoke at the United Nations General Assembly, and he dunked. He dunked on the UN. He put down the UN. He called out the climate change, man-made climate change, net zero as a scam. Completely blew it out of the water. Made the UN look incompetent. Made them look pathetic. So Trump dunks on UN climate hoax and then explains why we need digital ID and central bank digital currency programmable money. So today, in today's live stream, I'm going to break down, I'm going to play some clips of this speech he gave at the United Nations General Assembly. We're going to look at some of the angles he took, and then we're going to have a look at how he painted, because I'll start the live stream with this clip. Actually, I'll play some theme music. While people are getting in here. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. Let's get the numbers up. We're gonna go deep today. Because he was allowed and he was approved to speak at the UN. He was approved and allowed. The UN knew he was going to do it. It was all in the script. He knew he was going to dunk on them. He knew he was going to make them look bad. And it's all part of the play for the attempted UN New World Order. The WCW Nitro Live. Welcome to the Green Tea Freedom and Truth channel. This is Tristan. It's good to have the Green Tea team back for today's edition of the live stream. It is Saturday, the 27th of September, 2025 here in Taupo, New Zealand. I appreciate the Green Tea team. So I'm gonna frame and paint a picture for the team today. We saw the Hollywood, the theatrics, Hollywood Hulk Hogan, world wrestling, world champion, the fakery. The New Zealand, they're wanting to do the UN Agenda 2030, the Paris Agreement, the net zero. You'll drive your private vehicle 50 to 60% less by 2030 in New Zealand. Fill in your Western country. Shout out to the Green Tea team around the world. But politicians are now saying, you're getting credit if you're saying we don't want to be in the Paris Climate Accord. You have to not have agricultural food production and any kind of emissions reduction, because that reduces food production. That reduces the attempted push to get people to the dark ages. And a key point of that is the digital IDs, the central bank programmable digital currencies. We thought it was going to have something to do with like your carbon footprint, your carbon allowance, your carbon tracking. But that they have been failing. They have been failing for a long time and losing ground, because around 80% of all adult people in the free West does not believe the climate change, man-made climate change scam, hoax. So when a broadcaster in New Zealand did a poll, and they get 78% of people want New Zealand out of the Paris Climate Agreement, they are struggling. So of the free people, 80% of thinking, living men and women do not buy the man-made climate change agenda narrative. It's a scam. We all know it.
Has been abuzz with non-stop coverage of the country's involvement in the Paris Climate Accord, sparked by the ACT Party's call to withdraw unless major reforms are made to allow for more realistic emission targets for agricultural nations like New Zealand. ACT leader David Seymour argued that the Paris Accord is broken and unfairly burdens New Zealand farmers, proposing negotiations for exemptions on food production emissions or an outright exit if those are unmet by 2030. This stance predictably drew the sharp responses from the coalition partners. National has firmly rejected leaving the Paris Accord, with Christopher Luxon emphasizing his commitment to the deal amid trade risks, while New Zealand First Winston Peters criticized it as ineffective for New Zealand, questioning its value without the broader global buy-in. Coverage across all the mainstream media articles like RNZ, NZ Herald, and Stuff has been, not surprisingly, focused on highlighting potential climate fallout, including threats to our free trade agreements with the EU and UK, which tie market access to the compliance with the Paris Accord. Green MP Chloe Schwabik has slammed ACT's position as reckless denialism, while farming groups like Groundswell have praised it for challenging the ideological sludge in the climate policy. Former MP and former Climate Minister Tim Grosser has urged that we should stay in, warning of international isolation. What I did find interesting, Dawn, was that the Stuff reader poll that was open last week for 2-3 days, the simple question it asked was, should New Zealand withdraw from the Paris Climate Accord? The results, until I last checked, was 78% Kiwi said yes, we should, 20% said no, and 2% were unsure. Very telling.
And people reading the mainstream, these stuff.co.nz, these mainstream propaganda pushing news outlets, they're middle of the road people, freedom people who are awakened to a lot of these agendas and stuff. They're not watching. So that's a fairly accurate 78%, 80% of all of living men and women know the climate change, man-made climate change scammers, climate change agenda is a hoax. It's not based in facts. It's not based in science. It's based in paying experts to give you the modeling, the in silico computer modeling that paints some sort of crisis picture. And then you juxtapose that. So if you had a room, if you had 10, okay, but based on that, if you had 10 people, here's 10 people around the table, fill in your country, Western country, 8 of them are skeptical and don't believe the climate change subjugation narrative, and 2 of them would be, oh yeah, we need to do X, Y, and Z to save the planet. So then we would look at, so then that there should be, where's the correlation between what our public servants who serve us think? So then you would say if you had 10 public servants on a stage and they got asked about whether they should implement climate change policies, you would think eight of them should say no, we shouldn't implement them, and 2 should say we would implement them if they were representing the people. So let's just see how our candidates in Taupō answered the question. Do the math on this. Do the math on this.
Should climate change be the joint responsibility of district, regional and national government?
Yes.
Yes.
Climate change is a central government issue,
Yes
but
or
regional
no?
council do plan
Yes
for
or no?
climate adaptation. So yes, for Waikato Regional Council, adaptation.
Yes or no, Anne?
Yes.
An awareness.
Yes.
We've got to work together, yes.
No, no climate change. It's all a hoax. Yes.
Yes.
Yep, everyone needs to work together.
Yes, especially for resilience issues.
Yes, we're all in it.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
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 Yes to central government.
I agree with Rachel. Thank you.
Okay, next question.
Okay, so they went down the line. 20 people, there's 20 people on that stage, maybe 3 or 4 of them know what's up around the climate. Shout out Anne Tweedy, Duncan Campbell, John Fennell, sounded pretty. So why on God's green earth would there be 80% of the population, that the sovereigns, know what's up, and then you invert it when you get to public servants? So then it's like they think they have to go along with these agendas to rise to the top. Embrace stupidity, embrace, they think they have to comply to these agendas to get the positions. That's the situation we're at. This is the course correction we're having to make. This is saying that you support the agenda now makes you look like someone who has completely misread the room. When at the United Nations, IPCC, in the United Nations, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, all of their science, all of their stuff is pushing the scam, net zero, subjugation, taxes, wealth transfer, and then Trump just speaks what the people already. This is what everyone. They're reflecting the people, reflecting what we all know.
Not happening. You know, it used to be global cooling. If you look back years ago in the 1920s and the 1930s, they said, global cooling will kill the world. We have to do something. Then they said global warming will kill the world. But then it started getting cooler. So now they could just call it climate change because that way they can't miss. It's climate change. Because if it goes higher or lower, whatever the hell happens, there's climate change. It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion. Climate change, no matter what happens, you're involved in that. No more global warming, no more global cooling. All of these predictions made by the United Nations and many others, often for bad reasons, were wrong. They were made by stupid people that have cost their countries fortunes and given those same countries no chance for success. If you don't get away from this green scam, your country is going to fail. And
Trump, UN allowed, UN approved, at the UN General Assembly. He goes down the lane. He goes down the lane and does a Sean Kemp. He is the Rain Man. He is the Rain Man, just blowing apart the climate change. Oh, you like that? You like that? You like that? From the 80s, maybe the 90s, Sean Kemp, down the lane, right in the face, posterized. I've been posterizing the climate change stuff for years on years. So why? I'm gonna play this 1 minute Trump clip again. You know, it's a hoax. It's fake. They called it warming. They called it global cooling, global warming. All in the heart of the people pushing the agenda. They've lost their grip on the climate change stuff. Just know that they've been pushing, losing their grip, losing their traction. It's a far harder push than the pandemic. Just blows it out of the water.
not happening. You know, it used to be global cooling. If you look back years ago in the 1920s and the 1930s, they said, global cooling will kill the world. We have to do something. Then they said global warming will kill the world. But then it started getting cooler. So now they could just call it climate change because that way they can't miss. It's climate change. Because if it goes higher or lower, whatever the hell happens, there's climate change. It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion. Climate change, no matter what happens, you're involved in that. No more global warming, no more global cooling. All of these predictions made by the United Nations and many others, often for bad reasons, were wrong. They were made by stupid people that have cost their countries fortunes and given those same countries no chance for success. If you don't get away from this green scam, your country is going to fail.
Your country is going to fail if you embrace the net zero, if you embrace UN Agenda 2030. So he's really, and publicly, this has gone viral, it's everywhere, mainstream is listening to it. Then he doubles down, and just puts the boot into the UN, says how incompetent. He says they suck, he's great, and he makes some very good points. He is making very good points on all of these things. He's on point, speaking the truth.
I ended 7 wars. And in all cases, they were raging with countless thousands of people being killed. This includes Cambodia and Thailand, Kosovo and Serbia, the Congo and Rwanda, a vicious, violent war that was, Pakistan and India, Israel and Iran, Egypt and Ethiopia, and Armenia and Azerbaijan. It included all of them. No president or prime minister, and for that matter, no other country has ever done anything close to that. And I did it in just 7 months. It's never happened before. There's never been anything like that. I'm very honored to have done it. It's too bad that I had to do these things instead of the United Nations doing them. And sadly, in all cases, the United Nations did not even try to help in any of them. I ended 7 wars, dealt with the leaders of each and every one of these countries, and never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help in finalizing the deal. All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen. But she's in great shape. We're both in good shape. We both stood. And then a teleprompter that didn't work. These are the 2 things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter. Thank you very much. And by the way, it's working now. It just went on. Thank you. I think I should just do it the other way. It's easier. Thank you.
So on the surface, looking at that, he is, and he's going hard on the UN. He's calling out the UN for all of the obvious things that we know that they're doing, unelected, unaccountable, corrupt, untrustworthy. And so when people see that, they're like, yes, finally someone's given it to them. Someone's given them a bit of welly, getting stuck into them, justly getting stuck into them, which we all want to see, Okay, I'll read this. UN New World Order. Trump dunks on the UN climate hoax and then explains why we need digital ID and central bank digital currency programmable money. US President Donald Trump approved and allowed to talk at the UN General Assembly this week. Dunks on the UN and ends the climate agenda, and then explains the crisis reason why the West needs UN digital ID and UN CBDC. I break his speech down. Stuff poll in New Zealand shows what we all knew. No one was buying the climate change scam. We compare what the people know to the agenda-aligned wannabe public servants think they need to say to rise to the top in government, public service, these sort of things. 80% of living men and women know it's a hoax, it's a scam, it's based on false paid-off science, and then it's the opposite. 20% of public servants are prepared to 80% of public servants want to side with the agenda because they think they need to rise up, and 20% of them have got the courage to kind of just say, nah, I'm not buying it. And thank the blessed Lord that we do have 20% of... So what could be? Trump takes down the climate hoax and then explains why we need digital ID and central bank digital currency. Before I share the reason why, I'll play this Shane Jones from New Zealand first. He's the mood. The mood's changing. Get out of net zero. Get out of the Paris Climate Accord. People want out. People have seen through it. It's busted. It's falling apart like the pandemic narrative.
Well, all I can do is remind us, if you do not have affordable energy in an economy, then your economy is going to deindustrialize. That is the challenge that I, as a regional centre-right patriotic politician, am dealing with every week, which is why along with our colleagues from the National Party and the ACT Party, we're about to generate some solutions and interventions. But, mate, it's going to take quite a deep dive. I mean, these viral influences have embedded themselves in the infrastructure and the scaffolding of the state now. And there's always elements that are trying to outweigh democratically elected politicians. You may or may not know, over the last week, we had to get the Greenies and our wildlife department to back down because of decisions they were making that upheld the status of lizards above human beings.
That'd be right.
Unfortunately, we led a bit of a campaign to get these wildlife people to hop back in the box where they belong, and enable the politicians to run the country rather than these very nefarious forces that hide deep in the system, which don't agree with my quality of rhetoric or our approach. And our approach in the party I belong to, New Zealand First, is we are not going to have the weaponizations of frogs, lizards, dead moths against jobs, investment, and continual prosperity. Simple as that. And the Kiwis are on my side.
Bravo. So good to listen to you, Shane. If you've got
some truth, some honesty there. So this is the pivot. This is the pivot. Allowed by the UN, approved by the UN. This is the pivot that they want to go to bring in the things that they wanted to bring in with the climate change hoax, which people have bounced out of, and are starting anything. It all has to come from the people. They have to get compliance or not. If they get compliance, they'll continue. If they get non-compliance, so they have to make the agenda, the problem, reaction, solution palatable. Okay, give up your car to save the planet in 100 years, or give up your lifestyle, so they have to get something that people are passionate about, people think is a real issue, and and in a lot of these cases, this is an issue. That's why it's going to get more traction than the climate stuff. Well, what is the pivot? From the climate to what?
Just a few years ago, reckless experiments overseas gave us a devastating global pandemic. Yet despite that worldwide catastrophe, many countries are continuing extremely risky research into bioweapons and man-made pathogens. This is unbelievably dangerous. To prevent potential disasters, I'm announcing today that my administration will lead an international effort to enforce Biological Weapons Convention, which is going to be meeting with the top leaders of the world by pioneering an AI verification system that everyone can trust. Hopefully the UN can play a constructive role, and it will also be one of the early projects under AI. Let's see how good it is, because a lot of people are saying it could be one of the great things ever, but it also can be dangerous, but it can be put to tremendous use and tremendous good, and this would be an example of that. Not only is the UN not solving the problems it should, too often, it's actually creating new problems for us to solve. The best example is the number one political issue of our time, the crisis of uncontrolled migration. It's uncontrolled. Your countries are being ruined. The United Nations is funding an assault on Western countries and their borders. In 2024, the UN budgeted $372 million in cash assistance to support an estimated 624,000 migrants journeying into the United States. Think of that. The UN is supporting people that are illegally coming into the United States, and then we have to get them out. The UN also provided food, shelter, transportation, and debit cards to illegal aliens. Can you believe that? On the way to infiltrate our southern border. Millions of people came through that southern border. Just a year ago, millions and millions of people were pouring in, 25 million altogether over the 4 years of the incompetent Biden administration. And now we have it stopped totally.
Illegal immigration, mass migration, all of these things that have been in the public eye. And it's so well played. It's so well played because if the mood of the people, what people know and have studied about the UN, the Vatican, the WHO, and Trump's just going hard on them. The UN's funding the illegal immigrants, encouraging it. The mass migration, Germany, England, huge march, million people march in England to stop, to push back against the mass migration. These, it's in all the Western countries, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, people overstaying visas, people coming here, like a saturation of immigrants in the market. And then you can come in. Then you can come in and you can say, Starmer, Mayor of London, says people will not be able to work in UK without digital ID. 26th of September 2025. So it's all aligning. Okay, we're not getting the traction with the climate stuff. People have had enough with the mass immigration, which Trump's called it. The UN's pushing it. It's a global policy, global issue. What does a global issue need? A global solution. What could the global solution be? A UN digital ID? A UN central bank digital currency? It's well done. It's well done. Keir Starmer confirms plans. This is bbc.com. The commies at BBC. Keir Starmer confirms plans for a new digital ID scheme aimed at tackling illegal working. Here's what we know and don't know so far. The PM says people will not be able to work in the UK without a digital ID, and plans will make the country's borders more secure. This is yesterday. It's you can see it. They've been just laying the foundation. Million people march. Yeah. They create the problem. They create the problem. They create the reaction, and then they provide the solution. Speaking from a conference in London, Starmer says progressive politicians have been squeamish about addressing illegal immigration and saying things that are clearly true. Conservative, where are we going? Can we say how many people come into the UK illegally and work here? One reason behind the government's plan to introduce digital ID cards is to help tackle illegal working. The so-called informal economy, made up of people and businesses operating outside official employment and tax systems, has been cited as one factor attracting people to the UK without legal permission. And because shout out New Zealand, because we have no land borders, we have thousands upon thousands of kilometers of, rugged ocean, our borders. So you ain't getting in a shitty little boat and coming here. You're gone. You're out. It was almost like during the pandemic that we were 6 months behind everyone. So when they were trying to roll out the vaccine in the middle of winter, it was summertime here. We saw and we were 6 months behind. We had seen the effects. It just seemed stupid. It just seems that you're just like, well, that's just retarded. Because we had 6 months of information and evidence on that. That's the advantage of being a little bit. We're ahead of the world. First country to see the sunrise, but we're a little bit behind the world. In God's own New Zealand. Because it takes a bit of time for things to get here. That's why I said New Zealand's going to be the first country in the world to fully push back against these agendas. Because we're a small island nation, you can't get away with the stuff. Everyone knows what everyone else is up to. You know who's a pisshead, you know who's productive, you know who's this, you know who's that. We help out each other. We got nowhere to run for help. We gotta look to our neighbours. Tato, tato. Okay. But it remains unclear how many people are in the UK without permission and how many are working in the informal economy. There's the angle. There's the angle. So when Trump's in the UN, he's approved, he's allowed, the UN knew it was happening. The UN knew what he was going to say. They allowed it. Because they're pivoted for their UN New World Order. Attempted, weak attempted, weak. It's where it's, you know, they put time and effort into thinking about these agendas. If they had a climate change rally in London, they'd have 15 purple here. They'd have to pay a crowd. They'd have to rent a crowd. They'll get a million Brits turn up for the illegal immigration, the mass migration. It's an issue. We know it's an issue. We know it's an agenda that's been pushed. And then, you know, the digital ID is the tool to fix it. Because, hey, if you don't have the digital ID, the illegals can't get the digital ID. They have to want you to want it. They have to want you to want it. Because Trump just, they've pivoted away from the climate agenda. Dunked on it. Mainstream.
Not happening. You know, it used to be global cooling. If you look back years ago in the 1920s and the 1930s, they said, global cooling will kill the world. We have to do something. Then they said global warming will kill the world. But then it started getting cooler. So now they could just call it climate change, because that way they can't miss. It's climate change. Because if it goes higher or lower, whatever the hell happens, there's climate change. It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion. Climate change, no matter what happens, you're involved in that. No more global warming, no more global cooling. All of these predictions made by the United Nations and many others, often for bad reasons, were wrong. They were made by stupid people that have cost their countries fortunes and given those same countries no chance for success. If you don't get away from this green scam, your country is going to fail. And
global problems need global solutions. Remember the communist contact tracing during the pandemic, the vaccine passports, we globally we needed to know who was vaccinated to keep everyone safe. This is the UN.org topics. The UN Digital ID is a transformative UN solution that provides its workforce with a universal and easy to use system-wide identity, sponsored by the High-Level Committee on Management. This initiative aligns with the Secretary General's UN 80 and UN 2.0 vision of the transformed and more efficient UN, launched in 2024. The UN Digital ID was made possible through the support of 6 founding organizations, all like UNICEF, WFP, UN, all UN stuff. Why UN Digital ID? A unified digital ID reduces data duplication and fragmentation, streamlines processes for the UN workforce and organizations. It allows users to securely, smoothly, and seamlessly share personal and professional data while maintaining full control and visibility. The benefits of the UN Digital ID are outlined below. The UN, the benefits of the UN Digital ID are outlined below for their communist dictatorship, global communist dictatorship. Okay. Right in line with this, Starmer's pulling it out. Prime Minister Keir Starmer has said that removing this pull factor could help deter people from making irregular journeys to the UK, such as crossing the channel in small boats. But it remains unclear how many people are in the UK without permission and how many are working in the informal economy. Official figures show around 50,000 people were detected entering the UK without permission in the year to June 2025, up 27% on the previous year. Nearly 90% of these were small boat arrivals. Others arrived hiding in vehicles such as lorries or ferries, or by air before being stopped at airports. But these are only people who were detected, and the Home Office says that it is not possible to know the total number. So there's all these people coming in, unknown. So everyone, if they get everyone onto a digital ID, then if you don't have the digital ID and you're an illegal, you won't be allowed to work. They must think people just don't. We know that if someone's coming in illegally, they're just going to be working under the table in places that won't require visas, passports, work documents. So why on God's green earth would they expect people to have a digital ID to work if they're not expecting a visa, a passport, or work documents already? So you're going to add it. Everyone has to get the digital ID to say that it's just like the gun buyback. You know, the criminals who aren't registered for guns, who will steal guns, who will have illegal guns. You take away the guns off everyone who's, done the police checks, got the gun license, has lawful stored firearms, this and that, and then you go, no, we have to take them away. We have to take them away to stop the criminals. Ricky Retardo, the criminals aren't in that system anyway. You ban the guns, they'll be using knives, cars, whatever. It just subjugates the law-abiding people. It negatively impacts the law-abiding folks. It doesn't impact it makes us weaker and the criminals more. It subjugates the population, disarms the population, and the people, the criminals, can just go along their merry way, because that's what they were doing anyway. The laws, there's a reason they break the laws, is because they can. Various estimates on the size of the informal economy has been made over 6 years in the high hundreds of thousands, but Oxford University think tank says these should be treated with caution due to difficulty in producing reliable data. But the UN, they're the ones pushing and funding the problems.
Just a few years ago, reckless experiments overseas gave us a devastating global pandemic. Yet despite that worldwide catastrophe, many countries are continuing extremely risky research into bioweapons and man-made pathogens. This is unbelievably dangerous. To prevent potential disasters, I'm announcing today that my administration will lead an international effort to enforce biological weapons convention, which is going to be meeting with the top leaders of the world by pioneering an AI verification system that everyone can trust. Hopefully, the UN can play a constructive role, and it will also be one of the early projects under AI. Let's see how good it is, because a lot of people are saying it could be one of the great things ever, but it also can be dangerous, but it can be put to tremendous use and tremendous good, and this would be an example of that. Not only is the UN not solving the problems it should, too often, it's actually creating new problems for us to solve. The best example is the #1 political issue of our time, the crisis of uncontrolled migration. It's uncontrolled. Your countries are being ruined. The United Nations is funding an assault on Western countries and their borders. In 2024, the UN budgeted $372 million in cash assistance to support an estimated 624,000 migrants journeying into the United States. Think of that. The UN is supporting people that are illegally coming into the United States, and then we have to get them out. The UN also provided food, shelter, transportation, and debit cards to illegal aliens. Can you believe that? On the way to infiltrate our southern border. Millions of people came through that southern border. Just a year ago, millions and millions of people were pouring in, 25 million altogether over the 4 years of the incompetent Biden administration. And now we have it stopped totally.
And I'm the one calling it out. I'm dunking on. I'm Sean Kemp. I'm the Rain Man on the UN, on the WHO. I'm gonna do a breakdown on Palantir, the US digital surveillance stuff they're wanting to bring in. And I had a good comment from someone, because I was the MC at a meeting with the councillors this week, council candidates. And this is a comment I got from I Am the Last Free Kiwi on my last video. If I were you, I would do an official info request regarding the cameras, because we asked about the facial recognition, the number plate reading, and all of the surveillance cameras going up around Taupo, and what the councillors thought about that. And I know that, I'm pretty sure that it's funded by the council. It's not a police thing. But one of the actually sitting councillors said that they thought it was a police thing, but I've heard other information on that. According to the newsletter put in our letterboxes here in Western Bays, the facial recognition cameras were a council initiative! ! I gave them shit. So shout out, I Am the Last Free Kiwi. Appreciate the comment, and I think you are onto something there about that. So I'm going to play a little bit of this. This is a little bit of Trump's speech, and I won't be doing a live stream tomorrow, Sunday. This is my live stream, my long live stream for the week. If you want to shout me a green tea, you appreciate the content, you appreciate the work I do, because there's a pivot happening away from the climate change. It's just lost a lot of traction. Okay, what's Trump saying?
4,000 migrants journeying into the United States. Think of that. The UN is supporting people that are illegally coming into the United States, and then
So he's again saying the UN supporting it, but anything that disparages the UN, most people are going to be like, yeah, he's calling it. Yes, he is. He's truth speaking. He's calling it.
we have to get them out. The UN also provided food, shelter, transportation, and debit cards to illegal aliens. Can you believe that? On the way to infiltrate our southern border.
So it's an inside job. Yep, we can hear that.
Millions of people came through that southern border. Just a year ago, millions and millions of people were pouring in, 25 million altogether over the 4 years of the incompetent Biden administration. And now we have it stopped, totally stopped. In fact, they're not even coming anymore because they know they can't get through. But what took place is totally unacceptable. The UN is supposed to stop invasions, not create them and not finance them. In the United States, we reject the idea that mass numbers of people from foreign lands can be permitted to travel halfway around the world, trample our borders, violate our sovereignty, cause unmitigated crime, and deplete our social safety net. We have
Well, we've heard enough of Donald Trump. We've heard enough of Donald Trump. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up. Hope everyone's enjoyed the stream. It's definitely the illegal immigration, the mass migration. That is the Trojan horse that they're going to be pushing for the digital IDs, the central bank digital currency, all co-signed by the UN. And I'll play this one clip. If we don't co-sign, if we don't comply, their agendas fall apart like mist, fog being hit by the sunlight. I thought this.
Alright team, so Mother Nature is doing her thing, going through a cycle, warming up, cooling down, all that jazz, and we need a way to hijack it, okay? Time to make climate change a crisis. What if we just start with flooding them with information, confuse them? Yep, but remember we do need to create and fund scientific studies to make it seem like fact. So first push science in schools, make it always seem right. Exactly, trust the science. Hey, we could just spin every natural weather event as this climate change crisis. What if we blame it on something like a bit hard to understand, like something molecular, like carbon or something? Blame it on the cows. Yes, blame it on the cows. Now, who do you think we should get for this one? Well, if we put it in the schools, convince them it's going to affect their future, probably going to scare them quite a lot. And nothing screams crisis like a child crying. How dare you? But wait, would that stop people from having children? Oh, maybe. But if it does, we could, make it an excuse for mass immigration. Now that is brilliant. Guys, I just realized we could create whole new industries on this. Energy saving, water saving, eco products, carbon credits, higher tax. Money, 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 must be funny in the rich man's world.
Lisa Jane Spencer on Instagram. Chick on Instagram making baller videos. It's their house of cards has crumbled. But interesting how she brings it on to, yes, they're not having babies. We need the mass migration. All there. The angles are all there. So next Tuesday I'll do my next live stream. Leave a comment, share the content. I appreciate the Green Tea team. Have courage, speak the truth, support each other, have faith, and have fun. I'm out. They can back that New World Order truck right.